Hey, it's been a while. I know. I'm still here. I'm still here. Thank you for waiting. Um, I guess you guys have been asking for me to do more videos, and I don't know. I've been under a dilemma ever since they took down my most popular video, which is all women are whores. They took that down, and because they said it was offensive. So I've just been thinking that, how they ruined YouTube. I mean, I had all kinds of hopes and aspirations when I first started YouTube, maybe 3 years ago or so, and because it was such a great platform with so much creativity. I saw a lot of creativity, and there was so much potential there, and I knew from the start that it was owned by the Jew. But in my naivete, I thought they would just let it go. And I thought they would use it as a business venture, purely for profit, which is the way the non-Jew would think. But with the Jew, the ideology is the number one paramount consideration. And so they realized that if they were just going to let it go organically, YouTube, that people are going to start educating themselves. People are going to start educating each other. The masses are going to get educated. And as soon as the masses get educated, it's bad news for the Jew. Soon as the masses get awareness, the Jew becomes very insecure. Now, let me disclose at the very start that when I talk about the Jew, I do not talk about JEW. Okay, those are people in the Bible. These are not JEWs. They are Jews. J-O-O. So whenever you hear me say the word Jew, just in your head, refer to J-O-O. Jews, J-O-O-Z. Alright? Because Jews have no genetic connection to Jews. J-E-W have no genetic connection to the J-O-O. Right? And vice versa. The J-O are Khazars. So we can call them the Khazarian Mafia, or Khazars, or Ashkenazi. But that's, just to be clear, that's who I'm referring to. So they took this wonderful platform with tremendous opportunity, and they turned it into their mechanism of delivering their own propaganda. So now it's littered with Jew agents, propaganda, and brainwashing you and programming you the exact same way as television did back when people were watching lots and lots and lots of television. Included in that was television news, of course. And the Western world was programmed by the Jew through the various media that they overwhelmingly have monopolized, they own and control. So most of the thoughts and even things that you think are facts were placed there specifically by the Jew. You have to understand that. That's your first primary basic first step in your awareness. Whatever you know about history, whatever you know about culture, whatever you even hold as your humanity, your concept of morality, it's what the Jew placed in your head since birth. Because the Jew controls society, the Jew controls culture, the Jew controls, and through that the Jew controls a huge part of your destiny. All of your destiny, really, determines your life. It determines your perception of your values and your needs. And that's what the Jew shapes. And that gets us, it even controls your self-identity, your gender identity. It's all controlled by the Jew. It controls the value of your gender, as we've seen it, a very rapid, the downward mobility of male gender identity, where at this point you really don't even know what the rules are. What is? You don't even know what healthy masculinity is anymore, because the Jew have taken that away from you. Now, a lot of people get very confused, the same way as I was. I mean, I come from a background of Eastern European communism. I was born under that system. And I went through my youth, after I left and I came to the West, I went through my youth feeling quite alone and lonely, because I could not relate my thoughts, my views, the status quo that was going on. I could not relate that. I could not disclose that. I could not discuss that with anybody, because they could not relate to it. Well, now I'm actually very happy, because you're now increasingly living under the system that I come from. You're increasingly living under Jew, J-O-O, tyranny. And it's turning into a horrific horror, Jew horror, terror. So more and more people are able to relate now, and it ends up in atrocities against humanity. That's where it's always headed. The Jew is a one-trick pony. They only know one thing, and that is to enslave and decimate their enemies. And what's really fascinating, I mean, the Jew is an entity that needs to be praised on some levels, even if it's an evil association. They have to be praised for their ability to allow themselves and to be naturally corrupted into reaching their goals. And no other race can do that. I mean, there's always going to be anomalies, there's always going to be exceptions in every race, of course. We're not dealing with that. We are talking about generalities here. The majority of people. What defines a race, what defines a culture, what defines a population, what defines a group, a contingent. That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with exceptions here. We're not even dealing with abnormalities. Exceptions are abnormalities, they're mutations. So looking at the Jew as a race, they are not under the moral obligations, the moral limitations, the moral inhibitions that everybody else is under. And that's why they are free to commit any type of action without remorse. There was an important question raised on my channel, and on the surface it seems like a really stupid question, but when you look at it in depth, you realize that it's a profound question, even though it's generated from stupidity, lack of knowledge, ignorance. It's a profound question. Somebody said, well, why do you, I guess what he was implying is, why do I pick on the Jew when evil is available to anybody? Anybody can do evil. Why single out the Jew? I'll tell you why. And most people who are ignorant, who are not Jew-wise, would just bypass that question, saying, well, the guy's absolutely right. What is this guy, racist or something? You know. But if you have some knowledge, and if you dig a little bit deeper underneath the surface, and you understand how racial psychology differs, you will understand two things. First of all, evil is not available to everybody. Evil is not available to most people. Now, you say, well, that's absurd. Of course it is. Well, no, it's not. Depends on what you're talking about. If you want to, go by somebody's house and break their window, yes, that's available to you. If you want to go shoplift at the mall this afternoon, yes, it's available to you. You can do that. If you want to kick somebody in the shins and run away, yes, it's available to you. You can do all these things. You can do them all day long. You can hurt people on a personal level. But true evil, in a universal sense, big evil, is not available to you. That, again, is only available to the elite. It's only available to the privileged. Everything is privilege. And this world runs on Jew privilege. Who can function? Who can have success? Who can become rich and famous in the world? Who can have a voice? Who can have a platform? Who can have influence? It's all contingent upon one thing, and that's privilege. And that's Jew privilege. Now, most people, I'm sure, have missed it, but my first Jordan Peterson video is precisely about this Jew privilege. Jordan Peterson, I don't know how early, but quite early on, had realized that the only way he's going to make it, and the only way he's going to get rich and famous, which he is to gain Jew privilege. And the only way you can gain Jew privilege is if you work for the Jew. And he realized that. And to this very day, he is working for the Jew. He is promulgating, disseminating the Jewish agenda. His role is to target the ignorant millennial, mainly the ignorant white male, believe it or not. I thought it was at least half females, but apparently not. The females are fine. It can easily be brainwashed. But the white male had to be, the disenfranchised white male, single male, is specifically targeted by Jordan Peterson. The isolated white male who's looking for a support group, who's looking for a purpose, who's looking for a direction in life. Unfortunately, there's millions of them. You may be, most likely, most of you watching is descriptive of you. and you're very vulnerable, and you're looking for somebody to lead you. And you don't even realize it, that you're being led to your demise. You're gaining nothing. You're being manipulated. You're being deceived. The isolated, mostly white male is the targeted group of people like Jordan Peterson. And there's many people like Jordan Peterson. He's not the only one. He's the most salient one at the moment. Maybe his time is up. There's going to be another one coming along. And to make the connection, to make the association, to find out where the thrust, the agenda, where the mandate of Jordan Peterson comes from. It's not from him, actually. He's just out for privilege. He's out to receive Jew privilege. He wants to operate. He wants to make money. He wants to be rich and famous. He's ready to be corrupted. And there's a group of people that are ready to corrupt anyone who's willing to sell their soul. So you're not actually targeted specifically personally by Jordan Peterson, who's just an agent. You, the white millennial male, or any white male for that matter, you're targeted by the Jew. Do you even doubt that? Look around. Open your eyes. Make the connections, make the associations in everything that happens on a daily basis. And you tell me that I'm not giving you reality here. Forget about the truth. It's an overused word. It has no meaning anymore. Let's talk about reality. What do you think? Where do you think all this comes from? You know what? I went through university, and I remember at that time, all this stuff was in its formative preliminary stages. The roots were already set for what's happening right now. Back in the 80s, early 80s. And especially the judicial system. Now we talk about the judicial system, which is very important because it's the judicial system and the people that set it up and create the laws and have the power of influence of creating laws. Those are the people who weaponized women. You want to talk about women? Yeah, let's talk about women. Well, there's only one issue, really, about women that we need to talk about. That's what you're a victim of. And that is the weaponization of women. Again, we go back to the judicial system. The laws give power against you. So I was going through university, and back then the only word that was being used was liberals. And no other word was being used at that point. There was no such thing as progressives or Marxists or communists or maybe the left a little bit was used. But all these radical terms were just way too radical. Because the average normie the white man, never goes in the negative direction. They're very trusting. It's a Christian background. It's Christian roots. So they were okay with the term liberals. I mean, who's against liberals? They're just nice, compassionate people, are they not? Back then, social justice warriors were... Back then, liberals were revered. Social justice warriors were just compassionate individuals. How can you dismiss that? How can you go against that, right? They were okay with the word liberals. People were okay with the term liberals. It's the only term they knew. These people had no understanding of politics, ideology, history. So liberal was a good thing. Most of your parents were liberals. Maybe you're a liberal. But that wasn't good enough for me. I said, who are these liberals? I wondered. Who are they? Where do they come from? And what are they trying to achieve? Others never questioned it. It's compassion against humanity, is it not? It just didn't sit right with me. I wanted to dig deeper. After all, I was studying psychology. Is it the girl who has green hair? Or tattoos even weren't that popular back then, but you know, they were freaks all the time. Is it the girl who's a little bit masculine and works at the mall? Is it the crazy professors at university? You know, the draft dodgers from the Vietnam War who moved into academia? The war protesters. Is it these individuals? And I'm thinking, no, it can't be. They have no power. They have no organization. They're just individual freaks. And we see a lot of them now. You know, they're the marchers at the pussy marches with the pussy hats on. They have no power. There is something behind these people. There's a powerful force of organization and wealth. All these people are only agents. Jordan Peterson coming back. Jordan Peterson is a great example to use because he's out there. Jordan Peterson is like dog shit. You can't help but step in him everywhere you look. And that should be your clue right there. No, he's not being censored. No, he's not being secretly, ghostly censored either. You know, by limiting his material. In fact, he's being promoted as much as possible. Because there's a powerful force behind Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is an agent. He's a high-level agent. The girl with green hair and piercings all over, and a girl with a girlfriend, living with a girl, they're low-level agents. They're radicalized proxy warriors for the Jew. So now it's all coming clear. Where does all this come from? It only comes from one fucking source. And this is what you gotta understand. One source, nothing else. It's not the Muslims. It's not the Hispanics. It's not the blacks. It's not the immigrants. It's not the migrants. One fucking source. You get it? You get it? Now you get it. And I call him the deracinator. Jordan Peterson, the deracinator. He wants to strip you of all connection to a group. He wants to strip you of all connection to your racial identity. He basically wants to remove your identity. Okay? What exactly does deracinate mean? Deracinate means to tear you out by the roots. Now, what the Jew does, and I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, the genius of George Orwell, he highlighted this, that what they do is they alter language. And they give words new connotations that is favorable to them and to their agenda. And at the same time keeps you ignorant and deceived. So Peterson calls it individualism. Now that's a nice word. Man, do we not all want to be individuals? I've certainly thought of myself always as a unique individual. And very proud of that. So he makes it sound nice. Of course we all want to be individuals. We want to be unique. We are unique. We are individuals. But that's not what he means. That's not what Peterson means. Individualism to Peterson means someone without roots, someone without a connection to a group, somebody without a legacy, somebody without a direction, somebody without a past, and somebody without a future. Somebody who doesn't belong to any group or any person. Remember the video I did on need? Somebody who's not needed by anyone. Is that you? That's what the Jew promotes for you. Not for them. For you. And they have this shyster to put those ideas into your head. To put those values into your head. To put that ideology into your head. That you do not need to have any identity, any racial, any political, any cultural identity if you are white. That's the way the Jew wants you, without any roots. Rip you out by the root. You are not supposed to need anyone. You're not allowed to need anyone. That's why you're single. Because women have been taught not to need you. Women don't need men. Women don't need men. Women don't need men. The Jew pounded that into the heads of these fucking women. And women ate it up in exchange for privilege. Women are a privileged group because of it. Women work for the Jew. They don't need you. They don't need men. The Jew has taught women that they don't need men. And they're not reproducing, are they? No, not anymore. Accomplished. Somebody who's torn out by the roots. Somebody who's not rooted. And that's what most of you are and have become through Jew-instigated cultural Marxism, social engineering. That's what you've become. And Peterson is there to ensure that you do not make any associations with your kind, because then you've formed a group. See, getting back to YouTube for a second. YouTube is a great example of communism. If you log on to YouTube, you're watching videos, maybe you want to throw a video up there or whatever it is, you must know this, that you've entered a world of communism, Jewish communism, because you are being monitored, surveilled. I mean, this very video right here that I'm doing now, I advise the Jews to take it off, because this is also working towards enlightening people and to clarifying what is happening to them and who's behind it. So this is exactly why the censorship is going on on YouTube, and it's the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which is a Jewish terrorist intelligence terrorist organization, is in charge of the censorship. Just like in every other communist country throughout history, the Jew is in charge of censorship and surveillance of everyone, to make sure you're not against the state, which in translation means that you're not against the Jew. And you say, well, I'm going to run away. You got nowhere to run, my friend. Nowhere. Nowhere. They own it all. Now, I'm not making this up. You know what I mean? This channel is stark reality here. There's no sugar on top. There's certainly no cherry on top. This is reality. And YouTube has been and is increasingly at a great rate. They even admitted it. They're putting $20 million into it to bring their own agents onto YouTube and to populate YouTube with entirely their content, their propaganda, their messaging, their brainwashing, their programming for you. There's so many shills on YouTube. It's just unbelievable. It's quite a disgusting place right now, even though there are still some very good content up there. I don't know why it's up there. I don't know how long it's going to be up there. A lot of it has been removed. A lot of channels have completely disappeared. A lot of creators are gone. There's still some up there that you can educate yourself by. But that's exactly why the censorship is going on, because you got to understand what the Jew has done. And again, brings you back to communism and how I was not able to talk about any of this in the past, going through university, because everybody was brainwashed to think, well, we live in freedom. We live in the greatest country in the world. We live under the greatest freedom in the world. See? So, if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, well, look what's going on. You call that freedom? Do you know where all that comes from? You know who's generating all of this? It would just go right past their head. Are you crazy? Come on, look how free I am. If I want to buy a car, I can choose any color I want. I'm free. Well, You have no freedoms. And you got nowhere to run. Well, I'll put my videos on another site. No. They own it all. Go on Twitter. Go on Twitter. Put your thoughts on Twitter. Let's see how long you're going to last. Facebook. They own it all. So, they've always owned the mainstream media, including little minor newspapers in small cities. All of it. All the major newspapers. And now they own all of social media, and they own the internet. That's how powerful the Jew is. Extremely powerful. Worldwide. Now, what they fear most is that you're going to know this stuff. And you're going to wake your ass up. And you're going to log on to a video, or you're going to log on, you're going to turn your TV on or your radio on, even a so-called conservative talk show on the radio, and you're going to hear something, you're going to go, that's Jew propaganda. That's Jew propaganda. That's Jew propaganda. I know where that's coming from. See? You've now woken your ass up. You're going to realize that you're constantly being attacked by the Jew. Incrementally, insidiously attacked by the Jew. On every level. On every dimension, on every front. In every industry. And propaganda doesn't work if you know what's happening. See? So, you would completely neutralize them. Not through war, not through violence, not through an uprising. None of that is needed. All that is needed is your awareness. Awareness of the masses. And you have made the whole Jewish power structure, hegemony, you've made it impotent. Just through your knowledge. This is the good news. This is great news. And this is why they can't have it in their shop, which is YouTube, which is Twitter, which is Google. They own all of Google. So, this is what they have done. So this is getting back to communism. This is exactly communism, right? The Jew only knows one trick. And it's tyranny. In the Talmud, it's repeatedly stated that their intention is to enslave everybody. All of Goyim has to be enslaved. They're superior to everybody. All those things that projected onto the German people, that's all them. That's the Jew. Whatever negative you hear about the Germans and what the Germans have done, that's the Jew. And it's constantly going on. The Jew is behind every atrocity in the world, every war. The Jew cannot help it. They have to get involved in everything. They have to monopolize everything for themselves. They have to be in total control, and they have to rule over everybody, and they have to keep you in fear. That in essence is communism. Totalitarianism, tyranny, terror for the masses, for the Goyim. And the Jew is always the ruling class. And those who work for the Jew are the ruling class. The motivation of the Jew is something no less than extraordinary, and it should be studied. It should be analyzed. I'm fascinated by the motivation of the Jew. It's all for Jewish interests. Look what has happened even since 9/11. Everything you see, everything you hear happening on a day-to-day basis, on a minute-to-minute basis, is generated by the Jew. There is nothing in your life that has not been affected, shaped, manipulated by the Jew, by Jew motivations, by the Jew agenda. Even your ability to reproduce or your desire to reproduce has been disparaged, undermined, disgraced, stigmatized, dictated, affected, manipulated, controlled by the Jew, because it's all up here. The Jew works through deception, and the Jew works through corruption, manipulation of the mind. Psychology, it makes you desire what they want you to desire. It makes you think what they want you to think. The Jew conditions you like an animal and rewards you if you perform the way the Jew wants you to perform. Your reward is always a promise of Jew privilege, or actual Jew privilege, which consists of always giving you some type of liberty, some type of freedom from morality, from accountability, freedom from logos, freedom from the rules of nature, freedom from the order of God. The Jew frees you from all of that. The Jew frees you from logic and reason. The Jew, in essence, frees you from God. But when you lose God, the Jew moves in. You got no other choice. You got no other options. Either God or the Jew. You, in essence, if you leave God, you, in essence, adopt the Jew ideology. If you only sell your soul to the Jew, you will be freed from logos. But this liberty promised is always artificial, and it's always inauthentic. It's always a contradiction. It's always synthetic. It's always fake. It's an imitation. It's always in mockery of God. It's fabricated. It's inorganic, unnatural. That's why it can never be sustained. In essence, the Jew gives you a lie, and you go for it. Because you've been suppressed all your life. And you could see a hope of relevance, importance, a flicker. And your sins will be wiped away because everything is permissible if you're a Judaizer. The Jew gives you license, which Logos does not. God does not. God is Logos. Logos is God. The Jew steps in and says, I'm more powerful than God is. It's okay. It's okay. Go for it. You're not doing anything wrong. Go for it. You shouldn't be ashamed of anything. Have pride in your sins. Have pride in your indiscretions. The more you have, the better you are as a human being. You're the model citizen. If you abandon Logos, you're one of us. You've joined the Jew. Jew gives you license where God prohibits it. So after the Jew suppresses you, you're weak. And they can tempt you at that point. See, the Jew works on your human decency. The Jew works on your human qualities, your weaknesses, your imperfections, your insecurities, your past traumas. The Jew takes advantage of all that and promises you acceptance and importance, or the facade of importance. You can be a pawn of the state. You can work for the state. You can work to disseminate Jew ideology and tyranny around the world. And many have made the deal and signed on and are working alongside of the Jew this very moment. And many of them are quite successful because of it in this world. And temporarily. Anything artificial, anything that doesn't come from Logos, is not Logos based, will be and can be taken away from you. And it will always be taken away from you at the will of the Jew. In essence, if you work for the Jew, if you take Jew privilege, they own you. So getting back to two things that you're witnessing right now in your everyday life. The Jew have, they not only own every industry in the world, all the media in the world, all the cultural control in the world. The way you think is a result of their influence through their ownership of all these institutions in the world. But what they have done is you're witnessing two things which should be very personal to you. And this is very, it's defining of communism, all right? The two elements of communism, the two basic elements of communism. First of all is they own your freedom of speech. Now, let me accentuate that. They own it. You don't own it. They own it. The Jew owns it. Freedom of speech. And that's the one thing. The second thing is they own your freedom of association. So don't forget this very important point. The Jew owns two things and you don't. You don't have agency over your own behavior, over your own actions, because the Jew owns two things: your freedom of speech and your freedom of association. Can you believe that? The evidence is all around you. Your freedom of speech and your freedom of association. The Jew owns it. And they set the laws up by which you must behave, or else. What exactly is a slave, is what I ask you. I ask you, what exactly is a slave? What defines a slave? The loss of freedom of speech and the loss of freedom of association. Are you a slave yet? Are you a slave yet? You answer that question. And what do we do on YouTube? we are associating with each other. We're forming a group. Even this channel, as small as it is, due to Jew control of, which channel gets big and which channel doesn't. There's so many shills on YouTube with millions of subscribers, basically. All right, and most of these shills, and you see them, you guys even follow them. You guys even listen to, watch their videos on a daily basis. You may even go as far as to jack off to them. Always look at who they are. They're either Jews, tons of Jews. They're either Jews, half-Jews, crypto-Jews, or agents of Jews. That's what you got. That's what you're going to have. Probably 90% of YouTube is going to go to that. So right now you can't turn your TV on because you're going to get Jews in your living room or your bedroom as soon as you do that. And the Jew ideology telling you what a awful individual you are and gaslighting you. Now you're going to get the same thing, and you're experiencing the same thing on YouTube and the internet. All of the internet, generally speaking, you can experience the same thing. So there's nowhere you can go, nowhere you can run to. So the second thing that the Jew has privatized and owns is your freedom of association. And that's what they put a stop to on the internet. As soon as two guys start talking, 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys, very small group, boom, they're on top of it. The Jews on top of it. Can't have that. Pretty soon they're coming. They're going to realize what we're doing. Can't have that. So, me being on YouTube, I mean, what's the point? What's the point? I want to come on here and I want to say exactly what I want to say to you. I want to totally open up to you, speak my mind, give you the information. Now you can do with the information whatever you like. You can throw it in the river if you like. Or you can confirm it. You can do your own research. But the fact is that through this censorship, through them literally privatizing, they own it. Free speech and freedom of association. Freedom of speech and freedom of association. Through that, you are their slave. You are conforming to the rules of the Jew. Do you realize that? Do you realize what's happening? Right now, right here? Do you realize it? You must conform to those who rule over you. I was talking to a black guy recently, a friend of mine, and I said, can you imagine how not only our free speech, but our freedom of association has been taken away from? And he says, let me finish the sentence, has been taken away from us. And he says, it always was. He says, black people were not allowed to associate. As soon as a couple of blacks were talking on the street corner, they clamped down on that. They dispersed them. And that's exactly what the Jew does. They're so afraid of you forming groups. They're so afraid of you having the support of your friends, having the support of your family, even having a family, the Jews against, and having the support of your race, your kind. Doesn't matter what race that is. It's not allowed. It's only allowed for the Jew. No one else, really. Unless it's to the advantage of the Jew. So they send in slimy agents of theirs, like Jordan Peterson, to make sure that you don't go in that direction. You want to be an individual. That's what you have to be, an individual. An individual, meaning isolated and alone, where you have no freedom of speech or freedom of association. That's what Jordan Peterson means as an individual. You have to know how to interpret Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has a message for you. But what you think the meaning of it is, that's false. The meaning is very different. And now you could see what the meaning is. And you could understand that if you're an individual, the way Jordan Peterson understands it and implies it, the way the Jew implies it, because then they can control you very easily. You form a group. Somebody's going to get very neurotic and insecure if you form a group. Because they know very well the power of a group. Oh, do they ever? So listen to Jordan, Dr. Jordan, and be totally isolated, powerless, with no influence, worthlessness, individual, my ass. Like the Jews really gonna allow you to be an individual and make a difference as an individual? Yeah, right. You really think you're gonna make a difference as an individual? You've got nothing as an individual. And nobody knows that better than the Jew. This is where Jordan Peterson comes in, and basically the Jew says to Jordan, you want to operate, Professor? Professor? We made you professor in our own institution? Remember where you got your job from, eh? you remember who your bosses are. Now you want to operate, you want to write a book? You want us to promote your book? You want us to publish your book? You want us to write a foreword to your book? You know, you want us to get an influential Jew to write a foreword for your book? You want us to give you interviews so you can promote your book on all the major networks? Good Morning America, or whatever the hell it is these days? CNN and all this garbage? Bill Mayer, or whatever his name is, that degenerate pig. You want all the Jews to promote you? Wow. You want to go on a debating tour with another Jew? And charge big money for your tickets and have these dummies go and pay it and listen to you? Pay money to have you brainwash them? I'm telling you, in a lot of ways, I'm on the side of the Jew. You know, these fucking goyim are fucking stupid as shit. I agree with the Jew. I don't know. It's almost they deserve it. Yeah. This uneducated, brainwashed, stupid white moron. You know, the type B white male is who Jordan Peterson paid to target. And I'm proud to have been maybe the first, or one of the first, maybe the first, who exposed Jordan Peterson. Now, a whole bunch of other so-called intellectuals are doing it, which I'm very happy to see. And I told you right off, Jordan Peterson's working for the Jew. It's the only way. That's the only way you're going to have success in this world, is if you work for the Jew. That's the point of that whole video. The video is over an hour long or whatever it is, but that's the point. If you want it condensed, that's the point. You will not have success in this world, in this life, unless you work for the Jew. You have to sell your soul to the devil, and then the devil will give you privilege. I mean, that's what Faust is all about, the opera Faust. And it's a biblical story, really. It's been with us since the beginning of time. And without Jew privilege, well, yeah, you're going to make a living, you're going to be the working poor, you're going to get a job, maybe, yeah, sure. You're going to be a teller at the bank, or you're going to work at a construction company or whatever. But if you work for the Jew, you can have your own show on home improvement. Now, does that sound better? You're going to be a Jordan Peterson. Freedom of speech, freedom of association, gone. They own it. The Jew owns it. Yes, and through that, you are living in fear. Okay? So, communism is very simple to understand, really. I mean, those of you who were not born into full-blown communism under a Jew puppet like Ceausescu in Romania, even though you're living it now, it's still not clear in your head how it all fits and where it's all generated from. And basically, understand this, and you're feeling it right now. I know you are. It doesn't really matter what country you are in terms of the West right now. I mean, you watching this from, well, you're not watching this from Germany because it's going to be banned in Germany. I don't think Germans are allowed to watch this kind of content. That's a real sad situation. Those are, those Germans are most supreme of humans, I think, in terms of intellect, ability, ambition, work ethic, productivity. And these people have been beaten down to little worms, little insects by the Jew. They've been decimated. And what the sad part is that they have been decimated intellectually. They've been disgraced. They've been demoralized. It's like looking at somebody with absolutely no self-esteem, no self-confidence. And that's what individualism, according to Jordan Peterson, that's what he's trying to do to you. Because if you're an individual, you will not be a threat to them, and you will be controlled completely and very easily by them. You have nowhere to turn to. You don't even have a friend to turn to. They've definitely stopped you from reproducing. You don't have a family. And there's thousands of you like that, millions of you like that. I see them in every country. I go to Eastern Europe, and there's millions of singles. And they're largely isolated from each other. That's what's interesting. Isolation. That's what the Jew wants to achieve for you. Because you have no power in isolation. You have no influence. You have no control if you're isolated. You can't even control yourself. The Jew can then control you. You have no protection. There's nobody to defend you. You are totally exposed and vulnerable to the Jew. No one's going to mourn for you. No one's going to come to your side. No one's going to join forces with you. You have no voice. And you cannot associate with anyone. Wow! That's what individualism is! That's what Jordan Peterson is telling you, to be an individual. Because he works for a certain group of people that dictate his mandate. If Jordan is to exist, if Jordan is to thrive, if Jordan is to operate and be successful, Jordan is a communist careerist. And yes, Jews are always on top in communism. But the people who run communism, a lot of them are not Jews. They're communist careerists. This is why Jordan Peterson is the perfect communist. Is it clear to you now? Is it clear the world that you're living in, the society that the Jew has created for you to live in? Is it clear for you? Well, if it's not clear yet, just hang in there. It will become clear, because it's going to get more extreme and more extreme. It has to. Because it all goes in the same direction. Always. Look to history. Look at all the communist countries. Look at the Soviet Union. Look at all of Eastern Europe. Look at China. Look at Vietnam. Look at Korea. Look at all the communist states, and you will see the trend and the direction this all takes. No. You're not going to be different. You're headed in that direction. So wake your ass up. Men and women, systematically and deliberately isolated from each other, which results in no babies for the white man. No babies. No more white man. If there's no more white man, it's heaven for the Jew who doesn't believe in heaven. It's a worldly heaven for the Jew if there's no white man. The archenemy of the Jew, the Christian white male. And yes, they're individuals, unfortunately. They got nothing. They got minimum wage jobs. They're working in cell phone stores, youth hostels, lots of service industry, restaurants, and they've got nobody to turn to. They're individuals. They will never reproduce. They will never have families. They will never have a group to truly belong to. They will never have any organization. In fact, their freedom of association has been taken away from them by the Jew. Because the Jew knows that if the majority is powerful, then that's very bad for the Jews. The Jews will then be exposed. The Jews will then be identified. And their crimes will be known. Their agenda will be known. That's why you are not allowed to speak and you are not allowed to associate. You have to be an individual. See? See where it all comes in? An individual, meaning deracinated and isolated. Deracinated and isolated. Deracinated and isolated. That's the way the Jew wants you, because that's when you are weak. And that's when you could be very easily controlled, manipulated, coerced, and punished for anything you do that's out of line and against the Jew. That is why individualism, as redefined by the agents of the Jew, is such an important agenda to be perpetrated on you, on us, on the Goyim. You have to understand this, please. You have to interpret everything that the Jew feeds to you. You have to interpret it, and you have to identify it and nip it in the bud. Right at the very inception that you hear and see anything which is to subvert you, you have to identify it. And for that, you need your education. Because everything the Jew does is for a purpose. And you are their enemy. These huge masses of singles worldwide have been deracinated and isolated. They lost their past. They have to be ashamed of their past. Why? I don't know. There's nobody that committed more crimes than the Jew. So why should any other race be guilty for their past? See, that is a crime in itself. They take away your past and they take away your future. And what you are is you are all alone. The masses are all alone and defenseless. It's defenseless. They have a few friends who are exactly like them, other individuals, and that's what Jordan Peterson is promoting. But I got one advice for Jordan Peterson. You know what? You can promote anything you like, with one caveat. Everything you promote to the Goyim, to the white person, you should also promote for the Jew. That's the requirement. Remember this, Jordan. If you promote individualism for the white millennial male, also promote individualism for the Jew. And we'll see how far you get with that. You're going to be on the street like that, Jordan. And nobody is even going to remember who you were if you ever try that. And you know that. You know that. That's what makes you deceptive. That's what makes you disingenuous. That's what makes you a liar, Jordan. Because you know all of this. You know about Solzhenitsyn. And you lied. You lied on stage there. You got scared. You got really fucking scared, Jordan. You know all about the extent of Jew crimes, Jordan. I know you do. But you must live a lie. You are a communist, Jordan. And I'm not just picking on Jordan. Jordan Peterson is just a great representation of every Jew stooge that's out there. And they're in the millions. They're everywhere. They're all over this Jewish platform, YouTube, Google, It's absolutely scary. They're everywhere. And they're all promoting a lie. And that is communism. Communism is living within a lie. And the promotion of a lie. Living always under dissonance. Because you know it's a lie. Communism is not something that you're heartfelt about and you believe in. You know you are telling a lie, and you know that you must tell a lie. Because the lie keeps the ruling class in power. It's the lie. The lies which gives them their existence. And that's why a good communist must promote the lie every second. And that's what Jordan Peterson does. He promotes the lie for the Jew. And then the Jew gives Jordan privilege. And everybody else which promotes the Jew lies receives Jew privilege. That's the deal. It's a simple deal. That's the deal. You understand? You understand you will get nowhere in life unless there's a Jew behind you. Here's a little bit of homework for you. Pick anybody. Celebrities, successful business people, politicians, athletes. Can you believe this? And find the Jewish Association, the Jewish Alliance, behind every piece of success. That's your homework. And you will find it. There's a Jew behind everything. It's just reality. And this is why reality has become hate. Reality is hate. As defined by the Jew. Because reality is the ultimate truth, and truth is hate. Reality equals truth equals hate, as defined by the Jew. Do you get it? You have to understand the equation. This is because Jew hegemony requires that you live under the lie 24/7. Everything in your life is based on lies and deception. As you see it right now, and a lot of you have noticed it, right, in the last few years, you've become aware of it. That's why there's so many truthers, so-called truthers around. I mean, a lot of them are Jew frauds. They're shills. You know, they're working for the Jew, and they're only pretending to be truthers. But there's also a lot of real truthers, because how can you not have truthers when everything is a lie? See? Communism demands that you must live the lie, because that is when the Jew has power. As soon as you uncover the lies, and as soon as you are living under truth and under honesty, you have disabled Jewish power. And that's why you see the purge of people who are uncovering and discovering and educating themselves and educating others on reality are being purged everywhere. They have to be eliminated. Exactly what they had done in every other communist state in history. Purges must take place immediately upon detection of dissent, any form of dissent. And you're seeing it right now, all around you. Because you may just gain awareness. And the Jew can't have that. The Jew is no longer in power if that happens. And now you understand the whole purpose of these radicals, these proxy warriors, for Talmudic incentives of the Jew. Supremacy, true, real supremacy, the only supremacy that there is, to rule the world, which they pretty well already do. Open your fucking eyes. Open your eyes. I'm not making anything up here. I'm just getting you to open your eyes. Individuals like Jordan Peterson and many, many, many like him have simply been corrupted by the Jew. The Jew only lives for this world. And they worship themselves. And success, fame in this world is very tempting. The Jew decides everything. The Jew decides if you're going to be a university professor, if you're going to be tenured, if you're going to write a book, if the book is going to be promoted, if the book is going to be sold, if you're going to become a household name, if you're going to be a success on YouTube, if you're going to be a success in business, if you're going to get jobs, positions, titles, if you're going to be rich and famous. The Jew only decides. That's the key. It doesn't matter how good you are, how talented you are, how unique you are. The Jew has to make money on you, and you have to, at the same time, necessarily, it's absolutely crucial and imperative that you promote Jew supremacy, and you work for that. If you promote the Jew will promote you. It's as simple as that. And there is no way you're going to get anywhere unless the Jew promotes you. It's very simple. It's a simple deal. And that is the only way you're going to get privilege. It doesn't matter if you're black, if you're Asian, if you're white, if you're Hispanic. You have no power. None of these groups have any power. You have to understand this. Nobody has any power except for the Jew. And the only way groups, individuals gain power, gain influence, is if the Jew can use them. Look at blacks. Jews have been using blacks for decades. And blacks are promoting the Jew. Look at all the individual success stories. And this is your homework now. Turn on your TV if you have one. Look on YouTube. Look in politics. They all have one thing in common. They all, come on, say it. Come on. You know what I'm going to say. They all work for the Jew. Look at Donald Trump. The creation of the Jew. From top to bottom. From beginning to end. So, Jordan Peterson, you know all of this, or you should. Are you cognizant of any of this? My God, is this guy like intelligent or is he not? It's kind of a toss-up, isn't it? He's got all the trappings of an intellectual, right? But does he have any clothes? Is he naked? Is he a naked suit? Is he an empty suit? Yes, he's a puppet. It's amazing how he was elevated and promoted from nothing. And if you look around on YouTube, there's numerous individuals like him. You're looking at channels with huge subscriber bases and a lot of promotion behind their brands. And you will find the Jew behind every one of them. Yeah. So Jordan knows, or he should know. Always promote everything you're going to promote for the Goyim, Jordan. You should also promote for the Jew. And I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay. You won't hear a word of criticism if you do that. Try promoting individualism for the Jew and you see how far you get. What's a Jew without their racial identity? Without their commonality with those that they are genetically connected to? What's a Jew without any of that? Nothing. That's the answer. Absolutely nothing. So go ahead, Jordan, promote that. Promote that for the Jew. No racial identity. Try deracinating the Jew, Jordan. Go ahead. No relying on the legacy of your race. No reliance on pride in your race. No need for association with anybody in your race. No group identity. No political affiliation with your race. No nationalism. No patriotism. Promote that for the Jew. Jordan, that's your challenge. I dare you. No identity politics for the Jew. But you know where your bread is buttered. You know you couldn't go against the Jews who own you. You knew that. They would destroy you immediately, Jordan. You knew that. You're living a lie, Jordan. It must be hard, very hard. I'm being sincere. You're living a lie. Every minute you're living a lie. You're an actor. Your job is to deceive. Your job is to manipulate through deception. You want to gain their confidence. You want the weak, the traumatized. You want the disenfranchised. the lonely, to see you as a father figure, which they never had. And then you take them in the direction you want to take them in. Which is very sinister, Jordan. But this is how you get your big money. $100,000 a month through... Where exactly does your money come from? I'm sure you're getting it, though. There's no question about that. But you can only do it through Jew privilege. See? Whites have no privilege. Zero. They're in the negative side of the scale, actually. Below zero. So, through their ownership of your freedom of speech and your freedom of association, what does that achieve? That achieves every individual to live in fear. And I know you live in fear. Already you live in fear. You're afraid to speak. And you are afraid to associate with people who are not acceptable to the Jew. People who may arouse, bring attention to yourself, to the Jew. So you live in fear. You're actually censoring yourself. And that's what the Jew always wants to achieve. That's what communism is. Communism is living in constant fear of what you say and who you associate with. Every single moment in communism, you live in fear, and you have that in the back of your mind. Not even in the back of your mind, in your consciousness. And communism is also populated by those who take advantage of the system, like Jordan Peterson's, and they become the elite within communism. That's why Jordan Peterson would do extremely well in full-blown communism, to which we're headed. He would be part of the elite. And he would have powers which you would not even imagine in communism. He would have the power to basically accuse you of something, and you'd be taken in, tortured, killed, or you would die in a forced labor camp. You would be destroyed, just on basis of accusations. And that's what you're getting from women now, because women have been artificially weaponized, and they're proxy warriors for the Jew, so that they can have power and usurp the white male. The eternal enemy of the Jew is the white, Christian, or rooted, oriented male. Communism is living under fear, and you're feeling it right now, and it's going to get progressively worse and worse and more severe and more severe and more severe. All right, I'll leave you with that. And I've got some other interesting topics. But, you know, people want me to speak about women on this channel. I mean, that's how this channel started, and I'd like to do that, but you got to understand something. And this is what all the men's channels, all the MGTOW channels, men going their own way, this is where they fail. They talk about women in isolation, and you cannot talk about women without talking about the Jew. J-O-O, that is. Because today's woman is completely a product of the Jew. And today's woman is programmed to be at war with you and to destroy you. That's why you cannot talk about women in isolation without mentioning who is behind the corruption of women. That's what you're witnessing, the corruption of women. who is behind female empowerment, the weaponization of women. We'll pick that up next time if I'm still around. I need your support. We need to associate. We need awareness. And awareness is all we need. That's the good point.